Okay, we're back with you here on Gridiron. And first off, we're going to talk about a player safety issue that doesn't necessarily concern Lawrence County. Well, actually, it doesn't concern Lawrence County. Shady Side Academy was 2-0 going into last week's game against Clairton. And I believe that they ended up getting a forfeit loss to Clairton. The long part of it is Shady Side Academy has 40 players on their roster. And they were going into that game against Clairton with only 9 healthy players. Among those 31 players that were hurt, the Shady Side Academy district was reporting that injuries ranged from fractures and broken wrists to back issues and concussions, as well as ongoing rehabilitation. That left 9 healthy players that could be cleared to play. But here's the issue with those 9 healthy players. Of those 9 athletes, 3 were offensive linemen, so you don't even have a full complement of offensive linemen. 6 other players are 9th graders that are quote-unquote new to the game, including a kicker. So that's your team right there. And the WPIAL basically told them, we can't accept the forfeit. Apparently they either accepted it as a forfeit or postponement, but at the time they were questioning it and they were giving them a real hard time about it. And they also mentioned to them that it's in the bylaws that if they don't accept it or take their letter of recommendation for it, they can strip away any conference championship that they win or strip away a playoff appearance, or both. They could strip both of them if it came to that they won a conference title, or if they qualified for the playoffs as a second place or third place team, they could strip that away. What a 10-cent horse bleep organization the WPIAL is. You got 9 healthy kids. These are kids ranging between 9th grade and 12th grade. What do you want the athletic director to do? Say, here's a X-ray right here. See the broken wrist? And here's the back issue right here. And this guy, he's crazy in the head. He's got a concussion. Boy, what a terrible organization. I lose more and more respect for the WPIAL by the nanosecond. I couldn't believe that when I read all that.
Tell me how you really feel.
I thought I did.
Look, the executive director of the WPIAL is Scott Seltzer, who I have the utmost respect for. I really do. Now, the board is made up of 21 educators and principals and other people, and there's always 2 sides to a story, so we're only hearing one side of it. But I do agree with you. Player safety has to be in the forefront of any decision-making process. And if the principal of the school or the athletic director reports to the WPIAL that we only have 9 healthy players, we don't have enough to fill the team, you must take them at their word.
Right.
You can't question that. You must take them at their word. I was a varsity baseball coach. If I had a player tell me, Coach, my knee's sore, my back's sore, my arm's sore, I didn't play him. I would not do that. I would not play him until he was cleared by the trainer, and the trainer told me that he or she could play. I mean, you can't question that. And if they did, then I would be critical of them for that. I would, because look, a Friday night football game certainly isn't worth, putting a child in danger and asking that child to play if they aren't 100% healthy, or if not 100, at least healthy enough not to put themselves in a position or in a danger of being injured more seriously. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that if I thought I had a good enough team to, at the very minimum, make the playoffs, much less win a conference championship, and I'm being told that you got to show up or, we're stripping you of that. And I think I have a good enough team. Let's put it at the bare minimum. We qualify for the playoffs. Saying, okay, fine. You don't want to take me at face value. The game, I believe, was at Clairton. We show up. We show up with a 9. You go ahead and you work out. You get ready. You tape yourselves up. when we're on the field, I'll go say hello to the opposing coach and say, this is how we're going to do it, because we have 9 kids. You tell me, Larry, who wins the coin toss and who's getting the ball first, and then we'll go on with that. Is Clairton getting the ball first, or is Shady Side Academy?
Let's assume Shady Side's getting the ball first.
Okay, I'm telling the opposing coach, you kick off to us. I don't care where we end up getting the ball. First down, quarterback kneel. Second down, quarterback kneel. Third down, quarterback kneel. Fourth down, quarterback kneel. Ball's yours. Now, when you snap it on first down, my 9 kids are going to just absolutely take a knee. You can do whatever you want. You can run around us, do whatever. Score a touchdown, kick your extra point, repeat the process, because we have to play. We're being forced into playing. So it's in your court. Do you want to win 7-0, or do you want to win 500-0? I don't care. We have to play this game. So we're here. That's how we're going to play. I'm just letting you know.
That's a very interesting position. And knowing the WPIAL as I know them, that might get you in more hot water than just not playing. I remember, I think it was Mike Kirkwood, maybe the best coach in Western Pennsylvania. They named the field after him, the baseball field at Neshannock. Bubba was a great coach. He was playing a game against Riverside and totally outmanned. And so he had his pitcher throwing eephus pitches, I believe, for the whole game. And I think he got reprimanded by the WPIAL because they said he made a mockery of the game. I don't know. I mean, your point, you would make a statement. That's for darn sure you would. But it shouldn't have to go that far.
No, it shouldn't.
AD and the principal say we don't have 9 or we don't have 11 healthy players. That should be the end of it. Okay, we'll take you at your word.
Mm-hmm. But you're keeping your players healthy, and safe by doing that.
Absolutely. There's nothing more important, especially in the game of football. So
yeah,
it's some of the collisions are violent in that sport.
Yeah, and getting back to the Neshannock baseball thing, there's nowhere in the rule book that literally says you can't throw that pitch. So after he does that, you can't come to me and say, well, you're violating the rules of the game or making a mockery. Then put it in the rule book. If I scan the rule book if it's a 30-page rule book and I look through every ounce of that book and there's nothing in there, I can do it. If you don't like it, then put it in the rule book.
I thought it was a great idea because he was outmanned and Bubba Kirkwood, I think he won about 6 WPIAL championships in 2 or 3 states. So he knew what he was doing. But and again, it was a long time ago, and I may be mistaken on this, but I think they got reprimanded by the WPIAL for making a mockery of the game.
Sure. Okay, the other one I would like to talk about is the Elwood-Neshannock game was quite a thriller on Friday night down at Elwood. The host Wolverines were up 14-0 at the half. And on the surface, you're thinking, wow, they're looking really good. They're stopping Neshannock. And next thing you know, it's 20-20 in the fourth quarter. When Elwood went up 20-14, you're thinking, if there is a next score, that's going to tell the tale. And there was a next score because naturally Neshannock tied it at 20. And you're just thinking, okay, that's got to be the momentum right there for Neshannock. And I don't remember what happened with the conversion, whether it was an extra point that went wide or if they went for 2.
No, I think they converted a 2-point conversion to tie the game.
Okay.
I think the score was 20-12. They converted a 2-pointer to tie the game.
Okay. All right. But the strange part was I was in the Union press box, and that was in a mercy rule situation. So I fired up the LCAP broadcast of Elwood and Neshannock. And at that rate, it was late in the game. It was late in the Neshannock-Elwood game, and it's 20-20. I probably should have written this down so I knew exactly how much time, but Elwood had the ball on its own, maybe 45-yard line, somewhere around that vicinity, maybe its own 48-yard line. There's maybe a minute to go in the game, and it's fourth and short being like 2 yards, somewhere around there, somewhere around that vicinity. Larry Kelly, you're the football coach now. Czar of the solar system, as you like to call it. What are you doing? 20-20 at
I'm
home?
going. I'm going for it.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, I am.
They went for it, and the whole time as they're coming to the line of scrimmage, I said, "Wow, they're going for it. I would not go for it because I'm conservative in my old age. I would have punted." And some of the people were defending it from the standpoint it's non-conference. Let's see how it plays out. If it was a conference game, he probably would have punted, being that it's your position in the standings weighs heavily on that game. But being that it's non-conference, outside of wins and losses, it's not going to help you get to the postseason. It's not going to hinder you. So maybe that's what went into it. But for me, even if I have a punter that's known for punting at 10 yards and into the 14th row of the bleachers, I'm punting and saying, you got to go, you got to drive down the field 50, 70 yards, whatever it would have ended up being. I think I would have punted. But uh, as some people said, maybe the fact that it was non-conference.
Well, but then again, I think Elwood City was probably an underdog. If there was a line on that game. And I've always said, you asked me this question last week, in overtime or at the end of the game, am I going for two to try to win the game, or am I going to kick an extra point to tie it? My answer is, if I'm the favorite, I'm going to tie it because I want to go into overtime and have the game decided on a series of plays rather than one. But if I'm the underdog, I'm going for two because over the course of a series of plays, the better team is going to win more times than not. Now, if Elwood City's the underdog and they got the ball at their 48-yard line, they don't want to go to overtime because if Neshannock is truly the favorite, over the course of a series of plays, they're probably going to win more times than not. So I'm taking my chance. I'm taking my chance there, and I would go for it. Just me. I play to win, and I've been burnt as a head coach. I have. I've been burnt. But at the same time, early in the season, let me see what I got.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see both sides of it. I guess, when the bullets are flying, I'm probably more conservative than anything. So I would have punted, and not just saying that because they went for it and did not make it in the heat of the moment. And they're coming up to the line. I was saying I would not do this. I would punt it. And those times when you're watching it as a fan, Larry, you're a Pitt fan. And if Pitt's got 4th and 2 near midfield against Miami of Florida, and they're lining up to go for it. If I'm a Pitt fan, I'm saying jump off, false start, do something, take a delay game. I don't want this play running. I want to punt. I'm screaming at the television that way because invariably they're going to go for it and they're not going to make it, and then Miami's going to get the ball and they're going to go right down the field.
It's a mindset, but if it goes into overtime, Miami's beaten Pitt 9 out of 10 times. So again, you try to shorten the game over the course of 5 plays. A lesser team maybe can be successful against a better team, but over the course of 15 plays, the chances are that they're not going to be successful. The better team's going to have the advantage and win. So I can't be critical of Elwood for going for it. Hey, Neshannock scored with 13 seconds left in the game on an 8-yard pass. So, again, it went down to the last play of the game.
They were aided on that drive by, I don't know if it was multiple flags, but at least one was I think a personal foul penalty. They got Neshannock benefited on, I believe, a 15-yard penalty on Elwood City. So that even drove it even further.
It better had been flagrant because I'm a firm believer in letting the players decide the game.
Yeah. I just remember it was a 15-yard penalty. Like I say, I was trying to watch what was going on in the Union game, and then I looked down every so often, and I thought, wow, they look at them moving the ball right down the field, and you're thinking initially, oh, they're setting up for a field goal, and they were aggressive. They were thrown in the end zone, and even that's dangerous. A tip pass, and you go from having a hell of a good chance to win to now you're playing for overtime.
Right, absolutely. But it was a great game, well played, down to the last play of the game, basically. Statistically, it was a very even game, and I give Neshannock credit. They were down 14-0. They were down 20-12, and they fought back, came back and won the game. And, Anthony Aiken ran for 113 yards and took it to the house from 71. So, it was a well played, very exciting high school football game.
All right, we have the schedule segment coming up next. Don't go away because we have games on 2 different days this week. That'll be a first on this year's agenda. Don't go away. We're back with you here for the schedule portion of the show to close up shop. And Larry, when I was growing up back in the early 80s, every so often they would do an experiment where they would have NFL football on a Thursday night. I can remember the high-flying Chargers at the Cowboys on a Thursday night football game. And the intro would say, special edition of Thursday night football.
Oh, yeah.
We have Thursday night football around the county. See, that's normal now in the NFL. But we get Thursday night football around Lawrence County on Thursday.
That's interesting. It doesn't happen often. That used to be junior high football days. We played on Thursday all the time.
Yeah. This is varsity. It's 1-2 Riverside at 0-2 Union. Riverside's lone win of the year came in a shootout, 36-30 over Northgate. And Union's coming off a 44-6 loss last week at home against Washington. Be an interesting game. Larry, should be really competitive too.
I think both teams are probably evenly matched. They're both coming off, tough weekends. Union losing 44-6. Laurel beat Riverside 43-0. Statistically, the game with Union against Washington was a little closer than what the score would indicate. Union ran the ball for 120, gave up 197. That's not so bad. On the other hand, Riverside gave up 244 rushing yards to Laurel and only was able to grind out 45 themselves. So, I don't know. I don't know who the favorite is in this game, but it's interesting. It's being played on a Thursday night.
Yeah. Union's excited. As Coach Kim Needball told me last week, that they're the only game in town on that night, Thursday. So expects a good crowd and fans can go out and support the Scotties in a game against Riverside. And that'll be the MAC opener for both teams.
Yeah. Riverside, they do have one win, but they're struggling a little bit. Their numbers are down also. Union's numbers are down. And it kind of confirms what I always say. It's all about the players. You got to have a bunch of them in football. Numbers are important. And when Coach Niebala had those players, he won the WPIAL championship. And now that his numbers are limited and his players aren't experienced, they're struggling a little bit.
Yep. That game kicks off at 6:30, so a little bit earlier than the usual Friday night lights of 7 p.m. So a little bit earlier. So if you're going out to that one, plan ahead and get there early because that game kicks off a half hour earlier than normal. These games are Friday, September 12th, starting with York 2-1 at Newcastle 2-1. Pretty good matchup at Taggart Stadium. And Newcastle has this one and I believe one other non-conference game before Parkway Conference play opens up later in the month.
Yeah, big game for Newcastle. Again, they're all big for the Red Hurricane. They got York at home. York is no pushover. But if Newcastle can build on what they did last week against Highlands, again, Highlands is no slouch. So to win a game 32-0 is impressive. We'll know a little bit more about Newcastle this week.
Elwood City 1-2 at Mohawk 1-2. This is big. I mean, it's as conference openers go, this is big because both teams need to get off that bad momentum, especially for Mohawk after such a great performance against Neshannock in the opener, and then losing the way they did at Laurel, and then losing at home against Shenango. It's big for both teams.
Yeah, this is going to tell the story about Mohawk. Who are they? Are they the team that beat Neshannock opening week, or are they the team that got beat pretty soundly by both Laurel and Mohawk, or Laurel and Shenango? You know, Shenango ran the ball for almost 150 yards against Mohawk, and Mohawk only ran it for 59. Again, that's not a winning formula in high school football, but Mohawk has athletes. Again, Bobby Fadden, maybe one of the best athletes in the Tri County area. In their running back, Cash, he was hurt. I don't think he played the last week and a half. He might have played a little bit against Laurel. He's coming back, I think, and they miss him.
Yeah. Yeah. Cash Stratton got hurt, I believe, in the second quarter of the Laurel game and sat out the entire Shenango game. And they're a different football team when he's in there. When he's out of there, again, they're a different football team when he's not
Yeah,
on.
yeah. So if he's back, it will help them, and it's a big game. It's a big game, and it's a big game for Elwood. Elwood's good, so this ought to be two evenly matched teams.
Neshannock 2-1 at Rochester 0-3. And Larry, tell us what practice might be like this week around Neshannock. You've got Michael Bonjavingo, a son of a coach. He's young. He's in his second year. But the fact that they dug a 14-point hole in the first half and kind of were maybe going through the motions there, I'm sure he's going to want that team to come out firing on all cylinders, starting with the opening kickoff, not waiting around, play hard, and don't get behind again.
Yeah, well, Neshannock gave up 200 yards rushing on the ground. Again, you're not going to win many football games doing that. You got to be able to control the line of scrimmage. Rochester historically has been a really, really good program. They're down this year, as their record would indicate, but you can never take Rochester lightly. If I'm the coach at Neshannock, I'm working on the offensive and defensive lines to make sure the execution is where it needs to be. Guys on defense are covering their gaps. Neshannock ran it for 216, but gave up almost 200 on the ground. You don't want to do that in high school football.
Northgate 0-3 at Shenango 1-2. I believe Northgate's lone competitive game was that 6-point loss to Riverside. And now they go to Shenango, and Shenango got up off the mat last week and beat Mohawk 24-0. Here's a chance to get a 2-game winning streak. And this was for keeps, Larry. This is a conference game.
I would expect the Wildcat to take care of Northgate on Friday night. 24-0 against Mohawk is an impressive performance. So build on that, get better, get incrementally better every week. And I think the Wildcats are going to take care of it this week. And that'll be nice. They'll be even up at 2-2, 2-game winning streak. Nothing succeeds like success, my friend.
That's chapter 3 from the Vista lectures that Larry also.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Wilmington 2-1 at Berlin Brothers Valley, which is 3-0. Apparently, business is going to pick up here for Wilmington. 3-0, and they're going on the road. This is 2 weeks in a row on the road. Northern Bedford County, that was a haul. Berlin Brothers Valley, this is going to be a haul. Boy, they're going to be really glad next week when the friendly confines of Wilmington Terry Varelli Field Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Wilmington ran the ball for 456 yards last week. Wow, that is Greyhound football. If you can do that week in and week out, you're going to win a lot of games. As I said, 2 weeks ago, they lost a game when they outrushed their opponent like 4-1. That doesn't happen very often in high school football. Chase Mitchell-Tree, once again, my man scored 3 touchdowns. He's a machine. The running game at Wilmington is a machine. The offensive line, the Steelers can use a few of those guys. The Steelers haven't run for 456 yards since the Reagan administration. So, Wilmington's got it going. And it sounds like they're playing a pretty good team this week. But their opponent better have their big boy pants on. Again, I keep saying it, but when you can run it for 456, that is mind-boggling to me.
I was just gonna say they need to have those pants, those special fitted pants that Larry likes to say, but
Your big boy pants. I used to make that speech every once in a while when I was coaching up. You got to have your big boy pants on today.
Yeah, you think players secretly said, do you think he's going to say it again? Do you think he's going to have that speech?
I tend to repeat things over and over, and I would catch the players mimicking me, but that's how you know they love you, when they're mimicking you and they do it with a smile on their face.
So you say, Larry, so you say. Yeah, so it'll be nice for Wilmington to come back to Terry Varelli Stadium next week and play a home game after logging all those frequent.
Oh. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Larry, you'd like to say about county football as we're going into week number 4?
No, it's getting exciting, but the teams are starting to their character's starting to be revealed as to who they are and what they're all about. And I know pretty soon we'll be doing our rankings.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the Laurel Spartans are looking like maybe the best team in the county. I mean, they're impressive. They're impressive. Mm-hmm. And, you know, again, last week, Colton Carlson, 3 more TDs. Lucas Santini, he threw for 106, 20-yard touchdown pass. They ran the ball for 244 and held Riverside to 45 yards rushing. The Spartans got it going. They got it going.
Yeah. All right, Larry, good talking with you. Professionally, you happy with the result yesterday with your Steelers?
I am. You know, and again, I don't profess to be a football guru, but I know one thing. When you give up 182 yards on the ground, and I think the Steelers ran it for 57, you're not going to win many football games. And they were lucky to win yesterday. It's just not going to happen. I don't care at what level you're playing, you have to control the line of scrimmage. And the Steelers didn't do it yesterday, brother. They were a sieve defensively and couldn't run the ball offensively and gave up 4 sacks. And if it wasn't for the excellence and genius of Aaron Rodgers, they probably don't win that game yesterday. And I might also throw the excellence and genius of Chris Boswell, who kicked a 60-yarder to win the game. So,
yep.
yeah, the Steelers need to get a little better. Maybe they can talk to Coach Cooper out at Laurel, and he can give them a little insight. Or maybe Coach Fillion at Wilmington, and they can give Coach Tomlin a little insight on how to run the football.
Hey, you never know. It's on the table, Larry.
Yeah. So,
all right. Well, good talking with you, Larry. Thank you, everybody, for joining us as we close up week 3 and head into week 4 here around the county. We'll be back here next week to tell you who won Athlete of the Week, how the games went, and then forecast next week's games and preview them. We'll do that here next week on Gridiron. Thank you for joining us, everybody. He's Larry Kelly. I'm Ron Poniewasz.
We all know there's an advantage to playing at home, to being the home team. At LGKG, we've been your home team personal injury attorneys for auto accident and workers' compensation cases for over 90 years. We know what works and how to win. We have all the credentials. At LGKG, we don't take every case. We handpick our clients so that we can give you the attention you deserve.